Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tonight with Matthew 5:16. I am Pastora Denise, and today, Tuesday evening, I would like to share with you a character in the Bible. So, as you may very well know, every night we do make it a point to share with you nuggets of wisdom from the Bible, which is the Word of God. So that's coming from our devotions and our Bible readings. So we do share with you what we have learned from the Bible. And for the whole month of August, we are doing a character study. So we share with you a particular character in the Bible and what we can learn from them. Some characters are good, some characters are bad. So for this evening, I will share with you a character in the Bible from the Old Testament, and his name is Eli. Eli, three letters only, E-L-I. Talagang misspell pa. His name is Eli. Eli is a very common and prominent character in the Bible, in the Old Testament, and he was a priest and a judge of Israel. So during that time, to be a high priest and a judge in Israel is considered a very high ranking and very important role. Because when you are a high priest, ikaw yung talagang bridging the people, connecting the people with God. So you are in charge of the temple, you are in charge of the offerings, you are in charge of the prayers and petitions and intercession for the people. So Eli was that. He's both a high priest and a judge of Israel. And he came from the famous and important tribe of Levi. Sila yung family ng mga priests. We know so little about him from his childhood or growing up because he only had that moment in the Bible when he was well advanced in age. Una mo siyang mababasa. In that portion, he was first mentioned when Hannah, a woman, came to pour out her heart to the Lord. Now, Hannah is also an important character in the Bible. Later on, pag-aaralan din natin siya because Hannah was the mother of Samuel. At si Samuel is a very famous prophet and judge of Israel that eventually siya yung papalit kay Eli. So that's also a very interesting story na matatouch din natin later on in our upcoming Tonight with Matthew 5:16. So, focus muna tayo kay Eli. So, he was mentioned when he was well advanced in age, and the time that Hannah, the mother of Samuel, was praying in the temple for her to have a child kasi barren siya. And indeed, through prayer, nagkaroon talaga siya. So Samuel was a miracle baby. But we'll focus on Eli. Eli was a good man. He loved serving God. He loved God. He had a pure heart. So those are the characteristics. If you are a high priest, you must have, that pure heart, that joy in serving God, and yung certain credibility na ganon is really needed to be a high priest. But sadly, he had one fault that he carried through until his death, and that is he failed to exercise the proper parental authority to his children. Again, one fault that he had is Eli, although he's a high priest and although he was a judge, he did not exercise the proper authority towards dealing with his children. He had two sons who were also in the priestly service. So, ganun. They are also priests. Kasi ganun naman nun kung sa inyong family, yung anak mo, ganun din yung ginagawa. The names of his sons were Phinehas and Hophni. Phinehas and Hophni, according to the Bible, were wicked sons and wicked priests. So apparently, hindi nila nakuha yung pristine and clean characteristics of their father, which only goes to show that hindi lahat ng yung kasabihan na kung ano ang puno ay siya ring bunga. Because no matter how good Eli was, kabaliktaran yung mga anak niya. They were evil and wicked in the sight of God and in the sight of men. They would literally rob the temple in a way na yung mga best offerings ng tao kay God, imbes na kay God dumiretso, they will get the best offering. They will get the best grain, the best meat. So pag nanakaw yon, and really, God does not want na ninanakawan siya ng offering na para sa kanya, na pinaghirapan ng mga tao. And also, Phinehas and Hophni would do wicked things outside the temple with women. So hindi ko nababanggitin dito kung ano yung ginagawa nila sa labas for the public to see. But I hope you get the picture that they are doing some evil stuff with women outside the temple. So that's really a big no-no na kaya sinasabi din talaga sa Bible, sa 1 Samuel, Eli's wicked sons. Eli's sons were scoundrels. They had no regard for the Lord. So imagine being a priest but disgracing God even though you are a priest. And so what happened? Instead, ito na yung sinasabi ko, na si Eli was warned, and instead of rebuking his kids, instead of disciplining his sons, na hindi na pala sila mga bata ha, matatanda na din sila, what he just merely did was to warn them. He warned them, but did not rebuke them. So instead of exercising a stern authority as a father, and instead of rebuking them as a judge, what Eli merely did was to warn his children and tell them, ano bang ginagawa nyo? Huwag niyong gawin yan. So it's like just patting them on the hand na huwag niyong gawin yan. Which was not really the right thing to do because he was the leader, somehow the leader of Israel. And instead, may common notion on what could have been the right thing to do was inalis mo sila sa ministry as a priest because your sons are doing wicked things and they are desecrating the name of God. But Eli continued for them to remain in service kahit ganon. So, instead of instilling discipline sa children niya, sa mga sons niya, he did not do it. He did not confront and just turn blind eye to what they are doing. At yan yung sinasabi natin, a fault ni Eli sa term niya bilang high priest and judge of Israel. So eventually, you know what happened was that God killed. Eventually, the Phinehas and Hophni got killed in the battle against the Philistines. And when Eli found out, hindi na rin siya nagulat. But then when he learned he was 98 years old, he was so sad and disheartened. Nung nalaman niya, binalita sa kanya that his sons were all dead, parang na-aksidente siya, nag-trip siya dun sa kinauupuan niya, nabali yung neck niya, and he died. And what's also tragic was that wala nang pumalit sa line niya, sa family nila as priests. Even yung mga naging apo niya did not, because eventually it was Samuel na pumalit bilang high priest. So I think here we can learn from the life of Eli. If you are a parent and you are watching this, that God created us and made us parents to our children, first and foremost to love them, to nurture them, and to train them. We are at the foremost to be kind to them, but let us not forget that we also have authority over our children, lalo na in the early stages and developmental stages nila. It's one thing to be kind, palagi nating sinasabi yan, di ba? And in being right and in being kind, you have to know when you will be kind, and you have to know when you will be right, when we will be right as parents to our children. Let us not forget, it's okay to be friends with our children. It's okay to really have bonding moments with them, being cool parents, but let us not forget that we are given, God gave us the authority over our children to rebuke them, to to discipline them, but all with love. Let us not be like Eli. Sayang yung termino niya. He could have, ended a legacy sa kanyang family. But then it turned out that just because he was not able to really discipline his sons, it was a tragic death and a tragic end of a legacy for him. So there you have it. That is the not so good life of Eli, which I hope that we can learn from as parents. Let us exercise the proper parental authority over our children. Believe me, and as hindi lang naman dahil bata pa akong parent, but I've seen it because I also was a child to my parents, that when my own parents exercise authority over me, over some not so good things that I did before, later on I realized that, yes, they were right. I really need to be disciplined that time because sabi nga nila, di ba, it will be for our own good eventually. So thank you for listening, and I do hope that we learn a valuable lesson from the life of Eli. Join us again tomorrow for another character study. Good evening, everyone, and God bless.